Good evening, Fernwood. It is your ever-loving blue-eyed flasher, Neil, and it's peanut butter time for a new episode of Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman. Oh boy, what is there to talk about yesterday? Before we talk about yesterday, though, I did mention that we are having a couple of landmarks on the schedule today. The first landmark I will mention is that we are now, in the sixth of six DVD box sets in the case. Wow, we have gone through 5/6 of the series today, or actually, we finished the 5/6 yesterday. Oh boy, we're gonna have another landmark this Friday. Well, you'll have to do some math or wait for me to tell you what that is when we get there. However, last episode started after Vernon knocked Tom out with the flashlight, and Vernon's plan was to get Tom smelling of liquor so that they could put the finger on Tom for burning down the shack. Tom gets up immediately and regrets even being there, and then George and Charlie show up, and Vernon tells them that Tom got drunk the night before and lit the shack on fire. And George and Charlie aren't sure what to make of it, but then Lieutenant Trask shows up from the Fernwood PD with some officers who then confirm that someone died in the fire. And Tom insists he didn't light the fire, but the police take him away after Tex insists he's the man who did it. Across town at the Jeters, Merle is woken up by a frantic Mary Hartman who is worried about Tom, who ran off with a gun in the middle of the night. She's afraid that he will get into terrible trouble, and all Merle can do is comfort her. And Wanda returns after storming out the night before and persists in believing that Mary and Merle are having some kind of sexual affair. But Mary makes clear that she is really worried about Tom, and Wanda realizes that that is sincere. And the phone rings and Mary thinks that it's horrible news, and Merle speaks to Lieutenant Trask and tells Mary that they know where Tom is, but also he's been accused of murder. Kathy and Martha were sleeping in Kathy's apartment when they were awoken by Mac's aching ankle. The only pain reliever they had was Midol, so Kathy said that she would go out and get something to help. And Martha uses her experience as a gray lady to help relieve Mac's agony, but ends up in a compromising position as George comes to tell everyone that Tom got arrested. And of course, George assumes that there's some kind of sexcapade going on, and he starts to lose his grip a little bit, and Martha can only hope for the best. We end with Tex leaving Tom in lockup, saying that the GGG has Tom's back, and if that isn't clearly a lie, well, I've got a bridge I can sell ya. Then Mary shows up for an awkward, if tender, reunion with Tom, and Tom makes clear that he didn't start the fire. And he wants Mary to call Merle to get his help. Then Merle shows up, and Tom relates that Vernon and Tex started the fire. At this, Merle gets a bit frustrated and realizes exactly how hard this fight will be. And that puts Tom off a little bit, and Tom realizes that Mary and Merle both showed up in their pajamas together. And when he comes down, he says, "No, I'm not the one who killed Dewey." And Mary comes to terms with the fact that her friend has died. And while she's thinking out loud, she says, "Dewey's dead? Dewey's dead? Tom, you killed Dewey?" And everyone, I have no idea what to expect today, so I think that we just gotta press play.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
Honey, are you okay? Honey. Oh, sweetheart. Oh, come on, honey.
This has been the worst night of my life, Charlie. I've been scared clean out of my ever-loving mind, not to mention the fact that there are no mortal words in this God's green earth to tell you what I have been through.
Oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry. Forgive me, honey. Forgive me.
Charlie, how could you do it to me? How could you leave me? I mean, the Lord give us a child, leave it on our doorstep. I mean, all these scary, eerie things been going on and everything, and the GGG calls you up right in the middle of the night, and you go taking off. What could have possibly been so important, Charlie?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I can't say it.
Charlie, what's wrong? What do you mean you can't say it? Honey, what happened?
Tom Hartman is in jail for burning down Dewey. He's arrested for murder.
Tom? Dewey? What, the janitor at the plant? I mean, who everybody said planted the bomb in the assembly line? Of course, he really didn't, but that Dewey? Tom killed him? Charlie?
Well, honey, the GGG discovered an arsenal at Dewey's place.
An arsenal? Oh, that's ridiculous, Charlie. I mean, come on, Dewey wouldn't hurt a fly. I mean, of course, unless he shot at him first. Honey, he's a Shakespeare actor. I mean, for Pete's sakes, he's not an arsenalist.
I know. I know, it's hard to believe, isn't it? Honey, I guess there's just some people you gotta figure that they ain't what they appear to be, even a Shakespeare actor. I mean, take for example Merle Jeters.
Oh, well, listen, Tom Hartman is no murderer. I know that,
Well,
Charlie.
honey, he's a family man. And Texas and Vernon, they told him how Dewey was the bomber that almost killed Mary at the plant. Tom just, he went crazy. He grabbed up a torch and...
Poor Tom. Oh, Charlie. Poor Tom. Of course, poor Dewey, but poor Tom. Honey, this is just awful. And you saw him do it? I mean, you saw him take like a torch and just...
No, if I'd been there, I would have stopped him. I got there too late. Tom came walking back with a torch in his hand, smelling of booze all over. And somebody said Dewey was dead, and he said, and it's no accident.
He said that? He said no accident?
Meaning on purpose.
I've got something to tell you about our little child. He's a little wild, Charlie, and I don't mean wild like in oats, you know, like teenagers and people sow and all that. I don't mean that kind of wild.
Well, honey, he didn't have a meal in ages and ages. I mean, even I get awful wild if I miss even one meal, honey.
Yeah, but
I'll talk to
Charlie-
him man to man, sweetheart.
Charlie, I think it's going to be just a little bit more trouble than you're bargaining for.
Honey, he's been through an awful lot, honey, and I worked at a summer camp. I got a good technique for getting acquainted with kids. Let me... Hey, come on. Hey, fella, come on. Hey. Hey, what'd you say? What did you say his name was?
He didn't say, Charlie.
Oh, honey, that's the first rule. You got to get to know him. Hey, fella, let's take it easy here. Let's take it easy. Let's you and me get acquainted, huh? See, honey? What did I tell you?
Well,
It's very easy. All you gotta do... Honey, are you all right? Oh, thank God. Loretta, I think I see what you mean there. Getting acquainted ain't going to be such a snap after all.
Hi there. What are you doing?
Let me ask you a question. Does this look like a toothpick to you?
No, it doesn't.
I knew it. I had a hunch this wouldn't work.
Well, don't fret. It never works in the movies either. Are you packing Tom a lunch?
Well, no, just like always. I just felt that we should not disrupt Tom's routine just because he's in jail. Want some coffee?
No, thanks. Mayor, I'm offering you something, too. Look.
Oh, Wanda. For me?
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yes.
For me?
Yes.
Oh, Wanda.
Well, see, the lining is a little damaged.
Oh, I love the lining. Oh, I love that lining. Why?
Well, as Elizabeth Arden says, when you're feeling depressed, give yourself a fur.
Oh, you see, I never met her.
Well, let's just call it a no hard feelings about reading my diary and thanks for not telling anyone gift.
You know, you are such a sentimental person. You really are.
I mean, you didn't tell anyone about Drexel Johnson, did you?
Oh, of course not. Wanda. I mean, would I like it if people started talking about me and Sergeant Foley? What a well-kept secret that was. Discreet.
After all, Drexel really is in the past. Why, he's not even alive.
Well, then you'll have no trouble keeping a secret.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, knock it off. Knock it off, Texas. Just knock it off.
Hey, now. There ain't no way to talk to a fella that's just brung you some kind of wild surprise.
What do you mean I'm free? Huh? Yeah?
Ain't nothing in the world's free, Tom. I mean, you ought to know that. What I said was, I was bringing you a surprise.
Hey, look, I'm in no mood for no guessing games.
Oh, now, wait a minute. I'll give you a couple of hints. She's about 5'5". Got pretty blue eyes. Cutest little braid you ever did.
All right, knock it off, Texas.
Hey, temper! Temper, Tom. Now, you have got to learn how to control that violent temper of yours, boy. I mean, I would purely hate to suspend your visiting rights. I'd really hate to do that. You gonna be all right?
Hi.
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 You have a real nice visit now, Mrs. Hartman. And, thank you for them Twinkies.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hey, what? Hey, wait. Listen, you gave him Twinkies? Hey, do you realize that he and Vernon killed Dewey? They killed Dewey. It's a GGG. No, I'm telling you, Mary, it is. It is. No. They're making fools of us all. No, they set Dewey up and they're setting me up now. That's what they're doing.
No, Tom, sweetheart, that's impossible. The GGG is made up of us. The GGG is you and me and Pa and Ma, and we don't kill anybody. Oh, Tom, I miss you so much. I love you. Look at my surprise.
Yeah, thanks. You know what it's like without you, huh? Do you have any idea how it's like without you? Oh, now I'm without you all the time. I mean, hey, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I mean, look at me. I'm in a jail cell. I'm in a jail cell for doing nothing. I mean, I had nothing to do with anything.
I know.
I mean, I'm going crazy. I really am. Mary, you got to do something now. You got to do something.
I've decided to do something temporarily, just to make ends meet. I've decided to take Merle's job off her.
What?
All right, time's up.
I had a feeling that would happen.
Mary, listen to me. I mean, can't you make ends meet some other way? I mean, can't you? Huh?
Well, you know, I could rob a bank. I was only kidding there.
Yeah, she was only kidding,
It was
yeah.
a joke. But, Tom, what I thought it would be, it's just like a 9-to-5 job. It's strictly a job basis. It's 9 to 5. You can trust me. I love you more than anything in the world. You just trust me. I'll be there at 9. I'll be home at 5. I'll visit you all the time. Nothing will be different. It's just till we make ends meet, okay?
Okay, all right, I trust you. I trust you. Okay, sweetheart.
All right, that'll be enough of that. Come on now.
I love you so much. I love you so much, Tom.
What?
I would never, ever, ever, ever do anything to hurt you. Ever again.
Okay.
Ever.
Poor little boy.
I'm gonna tell you something right now, all right? Let me tell you something. You ought to get down on your damn knees and thank God I'm in here. Because as soon as I get out of here, and when I do, I'm gonna blow your stinking cover, pal.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, that's so.
Well, I'll tell you what. You want out right now?
Yeah.
Fine and dandy, man. I'll let you out right now. I'm gonna make it easy on you, all right? Yeah, sure. Anything you say, man. There you go. Now, what do you think about that? Go ahead. Door's open. I don't want to see your damn face around here no more. You best take advantage of my good nature, boy. 'Cause things gonna change around here right quick. You might not like it at all. You see, we got a new cop coming on the force. And I am gonna give to him as his very first duty the job of making your life absolutely miserable. You got that right.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mel. Hi.
What you doing there? You need some help?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
What?
Where's this go? What are you doing?
Oh, I was just gonna put that
all right,
there,
yeah. Now I was just
In the
out-
neighborhood.
Yeah, in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, my God, I ought to go by and see Mary, see if she needs any help.
You mean like you help with my trash or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trash, that's a good example. Or
Yeah.
well, anything really.
That's
Right out here. What do you got in here? Bowling ball or something? Here we go.
Oh, Mel.
Wait, I got her.
Oh, Mel. I just gotta tell you that you may be the kindest man that I've met. I mean, I don't know, just for giving me that job. Thank you.
Oh, Mary, you're quite welcome for that. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. What job?
Oh, I'm sorry, Merle. I'm sorry. I thought that you offered me a job as a secretary.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah, my gosh, I'm sorry. I forgot there for a second. No, I'm just pleased that you picked up on my generosity and accepted the job there. I'd do anything for you, Mary.
Really?
I mean anything at all.
Really, Merle?
Sure.
Free time.
Can't do it.
Okay, I'm sorry, Merle. I realize I put you in a very strange position. I realize that as mayor you can't free time, but I was thinking maybe what you could do is you could call the governor and you could ask him to look into Tom's case, and maybe what the governor could do is pardon Tom, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. In other words, you want me to call the governor?
Well, I think that he'd probably have a better chance of listening to you, than he would to me,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know what you mean. There's some truth in that.
Unless the relationship isn't a good one.
No, it's not that, Mary. It's just that, well, I got this here trash and,
I know what, Merle.
I'll tell you, this is just an educated guess.
No,
but
let me
also the
do
governor.
this to you. Yeah, let me
Probably-
help you with this for 1 second. I'll be right back, okay? Let me just help you with this. Operator, I would like to make a person-to-person long-distance call to the governor of Fernwood, Ohio. Yeah, no, I'd like to call the governor, and if he isn't out.
Mary, let me tell you something. I'm sure it's going to be real tough for you to understand here, and believe that I have Tom's interest at heart here, but I think if we just let justice take its natural course here, I swear I think that Tom will come out of this whole thing a better human being. I mean that, Mary.
You don't believe Tom's innocent, do you? Do you?
Well, I don't know. I have to answer that kind of in a roundabout way. I guess I'd say that if he was guilty, I sure as heck wouldn't blame him.
You think he killed him, huh?
Mary, no. I just feel like I think actually the man puts me in mind of my own self here. I think he's trying to do what's right for you, and that's exactly what I'd do.
Oh, Merle, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for this. I've just been using you for me and my family's survival, and this has really just been inexcusable of me, and I'm really sorry. I didn't know that.
Don't do that. Don't ever apologize to me for anything, okay?
Well, okay, but I do want to thank you for the job because it means a lot to me. I really, that doesn't mean an awful lot to me, a lot.
Okay. Well, let's see. I bet Tom is just pleased as punch that you're helping out like this, isn't he?
Well, he didn't really look pleased as punch exactly the last time I saw him, but, then again, it's hard to look, too pleased as punch when you're up for first-degree murder.
Yeah. Well.
So this is an episode establishing our current status quo. And it begins with Loretta hiding in the living room she appears to have barricaded herself in because she's afraid, but also maybe it's mess from the wild child, as the character is credited, wild child. She's scared when she hears Charlie come home, and Charlie is silent and somewhat mournful as he enters, and only startles Loretta when he tosses his jacket on the couch. And that's when Loretta comes at him with why Charlie left her alone that night. Well, he was into something really important, and sadly, he believes Vernon and Tex's accusation of Tom, that Tom killed Dewey. But Loretta doesn't believe that exactly, and I'm not sure how much Charlie believes it, except that he seems to be somewhat convinced. And then we hear from the child again. The child shows up. Well, Charlie lets the child out, and they're trying to get to know the kid, but maybe they are just a little bit over their heads on this one. Then we cut over to Mary's kitchen, and Mary is packing a lunch as she gets a visit from Wanda, who is here to give sort of a reconciliation gift to Mary, and that would be the coat that Lila had her rip the lining out of. And maybe it seems like Wanda is there just to see what Mary knows from the diary. And in this case, she compares the secret that Wanda has, not the secret that Wanda was really hiding, but the secret that Wanda and Mary both know about, Drexel Johnson. Mary compares that to Dennis Foley and the affair that Mary had with him in season 1, which was ages ago. And how well kept that secret was, that was a bit ticklish to me because, you know, it wasn't a secret for long. And then we get Tex being cruel to Tom. You know, last episode, Tex pledged the GGG would be behind Tom, which was completely facetious at best, right? Or maybe a cruel lie, because it is clear here that Tex really just wants to torture Tom. It is also clear that Tex specifically wants Tom to take the fall for the crime, for the murder. Mary comes in and visits, and they have that sweet reunion. Again, for some reason, when they are somehow separated and come back together, their bond is strong there. And Mary maybe doesn't exactly listen to Tom, but does let Tom know that in order to keep a roof over their heads, she's going to take the job with Merle. And Tom is okay with that, and then Mary gets pulled away, and then Tex goes back to tormenting Tom. And then after Tex leaves, Tom opens his Cracker Jack box, and the prize he finds is a toy gun with which it seems it's very clear that Tom is imagining shooting probably Tex, possibly Vernon. I don't necessarily believe in an eye for an eye, but I can imagine that fantasy going through his head just fine. And we end back in Mary's kitchen. She's cleaned up a bit. The refrigerator graffiti is gone, and Mary is taking out the trash. And Merle comes to visit. We don't know why Merle ended up there. At least I didn't pick it up during the scene. But he comes to help Mary with the trash. And then Mary asks Merle to find a way to reach the governor to pardon Tom. And I'm not sure what Merle's reasoning is. Well, he says that he thinks that if Tom goes through the justice system, he will come out a better man. I don't know that that's what he really believes. I don't know if that's his real reasoning for not defending or advocating for Tom. Some of me thinks that Merle really just wants Mary to not have anyone except for him. And then Merle leaves, and Mary really has to just sit there in her feelings. And as far as I'm concerned, Merle is really only good for lip service. I mean, I think maybe he was involved in getting the SWAT team down there for the rescue, but when it comes to things that he doesn't necessarily care about, like he cared about saving Mary's life, but he doesn't really care about most other people in this show. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, he's a bag of wind. And, well, everyone, that is a look at our new status quo. Thank you so much for watching with me today. Thank you so much for leaving your thoughts, feelings, and impressions down in the comments. Thank you for enjoying Peanut Butter Time. And we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.